Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Winfallcurse. It's a bit of an older one, I gotta admit, but the title did have me intrigued. And it's titled, Me, 30 male, with my girlfriend's 27 female family following my sudden inheritance. Feel like my life is shattering. Apologies in advance for the wall of incoming text. Where do I even begin? I'm so lost right now, I don't even know how to put things into words or find a good starting point. I guess it goes with how 2 months ago, my life was exactly where I wanted it to be. I've been with the girl of my dreams, 27 female, for the last 3.5 years. We have a house, animals, both of our families get along beautifully, and honestly, the last 3 years with her and my family and her family around the holidays have been some of the most warm, fuzzy memories I've had in my entire life. And believe me, I've been thinking about those times a lot lately. So, like I said, this problem is going to come in parts because my entire life feels like it is on the brink of completely falling apart. My mother was a very, very wealthy woman. Most of my life, she and I did not get along very well, but I started working in the family business roughly 5 years ago, and since then we've actually developed a great relationship. It was one of those things where, after many years of feeling that my mother hated me, she was at last proud of me and not afraid to say she loved me and valued me. And last month, in mid-March, she passed away. I'm tearing up thinking about this as I type because I've always felt that, despite her resentment towards me in my early years, I love my mother more than anyone else in this world. I won't say much more than that. She had a hard life in spite of her wealth, and I feel I could write a whole book on our relationship. Anyway, she is gone, and my siblings and I are now extremely wealthy and have taken possession of the business and all of her investments and property. If that isn't scary enough, I'm having a hard time figuring out what I need to do next. The business I was associated with, I can handle, and my siblings and I have really come together on this, and they seem to trust me with that part of it. But it doesn't wash away the hurt and guilt I feel that I only got a good few years with a woman who gave me life. Anyway, my plan is to marry my girlfriend by next year, and we've already discussed the prenup situation, which I will be getting due to my newfound wealth. She has been nothing but wonderful after my mum's death, but the problem comes in her family. I won't go into much detail, but I love these people like an extension of my own family. They have already started trying to pry exactly how wealthy I am out of my girlfriend, and her mum has always had a gravitational pull towards, for the lack of a better term, pyramid schemes. Her first sibling, Terry, just got married and is working at a fast food job. Terry and his wife have decided they will be starting a family soon and stated that they want wife to be a stay-at-home mum. This talk has only recently popped up and brought to my attention, and I feel like I'm being paranoid and directing at me, as there is absolutely no way they'd be able to afford this on the money they currently make, or even while living in their small apartment. Like they're expecting me to help them out in a situation they are wholly unable to handle right now. Sibling number 2, Leslie, has run into some pretty serious legal trouble and is also pregnant. Her father has a history of abuse and neither have steady incomes. They have recently came back into our lives after a 4-year-long absence between girlfriend and Leslie, though prior to this, the two have always been extremely close, as girlfriend is with all of her siblings. As throughout their childhood, a lot of time, all they had was each other. Sibling 3, Casey, who I hardly ever speak to, has started chatting me up on Facebook more than she ever has in the entire time I've known her. Is this just my brain devolving into paranoia, or is this actually happening? Like the lottery horror stories you hear when people come out of the woodwork with their hands out when they smell money on someone they know. I know for a fact my mother, for all of her faults, fell victim to this when she inherited this money. She became increasingly bitter throughout her life due to all of the husbands and friends that took advantage of her for what she could do for them. She drank herself stupid every day for 30 plus years and moved through carton after carton of cigarettes and alienated her own children. I don't want to be like that. I don't want that to happen. It's been less than a month that I've had more money than I know what I'm going to do with. I'm afraid to spend a dime or do anything with it because I feel like my girlfriend's family is only the beginning. What's worse, and will probably make me look like a total shithead, is my girlfriend has already committed to helping Leslie. They were close their whole lives, and with all the legal trouble and pregnancy, girlfriend cries at night thinking about what's happening to her. She has not asked me to help financially or anything, but I have been there every step of the way to help support them and her as best as I can. But how will it look when my girlfriend starts giving out her money to people while I don't, and get viewed as a selfish Scrooge? All of this is too much. The last 3 years were just so wonderful. So many magic trips to the beach, wonderful holidays surrounded by not one but 2 families full of great people that accepted and loved me. And now it seems like because I lost my mother and am getting a windfall because of it, everything is changing. I don't get to be happy with family anymore. My whole life is crashing because of this. I know this is so far beyond a first world problem. Poor baby is now a millionaire and is a little sad, and he can't have a happy Christmas. Where? But I feel so broken. I miss my mum. I don't sleep at all. I hardly eat, and despite knowing full well the path my mother went down, I've been drinking a bit and smoking weed more than I ever had, on a daily basis in fact. My siblings seem to be coping just fine, and now I feel like everyone is out to get me. Even my girlfriend is getting a little tired of hearing me voice my concerns over girlfriend siblings, 1 to 3, and her mum's sudden extra interest in me, which is understandable. They're all very close and take up for one another. Now I'm even doubting myself and thinking it's all in my head maybe. Too many times my mother drunkenly telling me about all the times she trusted people and was let down. I'm just so lost. I am just Jenna comments on this one and says, OP, I can sympathize. When I was 23, I came into a good deal of money. Nothing like what you describe, but a healthy amount that could have set my retirement for life had I been smart. I didn't inherit it or win it. I got it because of a car accident settlement. But that didn't stop all the people coming out of the woodwork with their hands out. I lost friends. My best friend thought I should buy her mum a house when we were 16. My best friend thought I should buy her mum a house because when we were 16, we both said that's what we'd do if either of us won the lottery. When I refused, she got angry. We aren't friends anymore. In the end, I lost my money because I usually couldn't say no to all the emergencies my friends and family had. I have horrible medical problems and terrible insurance. That money was supposed to be there for that. And when the handouts stopped, I lost people, and the money is gone too. Don't be me. Lurky Lurk says, ask your girlfriend not to talk to her family anymore about your finances. When any of them try to bring it up, change the subject or tell them that you are still grieving for your mother and can't talk about it. You don't owe these people anything, and as far as your girlfriend, if you see that she's starting to give more than she can afford to Leslie, ask her to sit down with you and talk about the shared household budget, and ask her to look realistically at how much she can give while remaining solvent. As long as your girlfriend isn't changing, and the issue with Leslie seems to be mostly about the kid on the way, which would have happened even without the inheritance, the rest of her family can't do anything to you unless you let them, and it looks like you won't fall for that. Good luck to the two of you, and condolences. Machent says, sorry about your mum. Of course you're emotional about this money. It's what your mum's left you. If your inheritance were a collection of salt and pepper shakers, you'd be upset to know they're appraising it too. I suggest that you have a heart-to-heart with your girlfriend about the money. Before people marry, talking about money is essential. Explain that it's your mum's business and you intend to grow it instead of cashing out. Discuss the type of lifestyle you will have that would allow you to grow the company. That will be a good balance of freedom, pleasure, attracting attention, and sustainability. Make sure she's on side and understands that this means there can be some woo we're rich, but it comes at a cost, namely alienating others. I suggest doing what so many pro ballers do. Offer everyone a job. Explain that you're not the manager, so the manager has to treat them like anyone else, but you'll get them hired. If you don't want them at your company, buy a franchise and hire an experienced manager with those instructions. Everyone with their hands out gets a job, but no one is promised they get to keep that job. Help the sister in the legal emergency, but overall, you need money, here's a job, will be your stock answer. Sure, you aren't enjoying the money yet. It's not free. It came with a loss of your mum, and girlfriend has to get that. But if you plan well, it can mean much more freedom. Don't let it be a burden. Let's have one more comment from Baffled Soap, who says, if you haven't already done so, get the right team of people around you to help manage your newfound wealth. Don't spend anything before you have this team in place. Just Google what to do when you win the lottery, and you can find some excellent advice on all the help you should be getting. Second, you need to ensure that you and your girlfriend are on the same page about your wealth. She has agreed to a prenup, and that's great, but you need to have a very frank and possibly very uncomfortable conversation about your newfound money. First, decide with your team if you're going to provide lump sum gifts or college accounts to her family members. From what I've read, if you choose to share, it should be clearly understood as a one-time payment. Or maybe you should choose to sponsor a family holiday each year to continue those family memories. Since this is your independent wealth, this is your decision to make, and explain the plan to your girlfriend. After this agreement, your girlfriend should understand that she has to shut down anyone that approaches her for a handout, loan, or investment. She should never act as a pitchman or encourage someone to approach you directly. You two need to have a united front on this. If she is wishy-washy or tries to plead a case to you in private anytime someone is in a bad spot, then your relationship is going to become very rocky very quickly. And if she feels she cannot agree with this, she feels you should share your money but you do not, then this is good to know before you proceed. So then OP kindly updates their post and says, first, I just want to say, wow, this whole thing blew and made me feel much better about the whole situation. Thank you everyone for your understanding, condolences and advice. I read the lottery winning thread many of you linked to, and while I'm not currently $300 million richer, I will look into a smaller scale version of all the things you offered up. I'm not sure if it's worth writing a whole update, but last night I called my sister and drove an hour to her house and stayed the night with her, her husband and my nieces and nephew. Over some beers, she and I started talking about the whole situation. Oddly, it's the first time we've really talked about anything alone without attorneys or my other siblings around since my mother died. Side note, she passed away on March 8th, and I know there was at least one comment that said this seemed like everything was moving too fast. Anyway, it turns out she isn't as together about everything as I thought she was. I showed her the thread and all the replies, and both she and I agreed to talk to a financial advisor and look into getting attorneys to help us with this. She'd been primarily working with my mum's attorney up until now. I'm going to look into setting up a trust as well. Nothing too crazy, but enough that I can give a small gift to these people and have a cap on it, so to speak, whenever it does come up. I talked to my girlfriend on the phone this morning and kind of laid it all out, and she was in total agreement. She said she was surprised Casey had suddenly started talking to me and that it was very suspicious. She also said that Terry's wife brought up the kids again and was showing her houses they wanted to get that were way out of their price range. And my girlfriend kind of played dumb and just kept asking questions about how they plan to afford all that, so I know she and I, for now at least, are on the same page. Lastly, when I was talking to my sister last night, she said something that both uplifted and destroyed me. We were talking about our mum and what a hard ass she was, and my sister said that one of the last conversations she had with our mum, my mother said, "You and my brother trust OP. He knows what he's doing and will make sure everyone is okay." Anyway, thank you all for all of your comments. I feel a better and stronger person just one day later. And that is one of my favorite things about Reddit posts, is just the wealth of information. Sometimes not always good information, of course, but everyone from different walks of life and has walked in these paths before can give you that advice, and you can take it and change your life for the better if you choose to do so. I find that fascinating. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Inappropriate Dress from the Am I the A-Hole subreddit. Doesn't come with an update and is titled, "Am I the A-Hole for telling my son he deserved his girlfriend breaking up with him?" So my son had a long distance girlfriend recently for about 2 years. She was great, a really nice girl, and we all loved her and welcomed her with open arms. She was flying here constantly to visit him, like a weekend a month, and he didn't lift a finger to go visit her. I tried talking to him about it several times and told him he should really start looking into flying over to her instead of expecting her to do all the traveling. He said no. And my wife probably had something to do with it, as she constantly told him she was afraid of him flying. I spoke to them both and said this girl is great for him. She was willing to move over to our country too, but said there was one condition, and that was he'd have to fly over to her country too, which is fair enough. He said no, he didn't want to fly or travel anywhere. My son was becoming lazier and lazier, eventually telling his girlfriend and us that he was perfectly fine never traveling anywhere, including holidays, etc. Last week, he told us she's dumped him. I went on her Facebook page as we're all still friends. She wrote us an apology letter about how she's upset it didn't work out, but these things happen. So we're on good terms. It looks like she's with a new guy already. Me and my wife have no doubt she was seeing him while still in a relationship with my son. I confessed to them both that I actually agree with her decision, and he should have expected it. He did not treat her properly, and I hope he learns lessons for the next one because he needs to make more of an effort. I said he deserves it for his lack of effort in the relationship and for essentially just allowing this girl to spend all her money and time coming here all the time. Wife and son are very upset that I said this. Very, very upset, and my wife says I am being horrible. Am I the a-hole? I stand by what I said. And we're going to start in the comments with Self and New, who says not the a-hole. That's the truth. What age is he? Edit, you say he's 24 in another comment. Definitely not the arsehole. If he is this lazy and has no plans to travel, what's his plan for leaving the house? Living with his parents is great to save money, but he doesn't seem the type so far to actually get up and get out eventually. And OP did confirm after that he is in fact 24. Acadian says, you're the a-hole, as the only issue I see here was his fear of flying. I'm afraid of flying. I don't like traveling, and none of that makes me lazy by any means. If there are other reasons you feel he was lazy, then it might be different. There are legitimate phobias and fears about flying. Was he paying for her flights or contributing financially? You mentioned she was wasting her time and money, but what was his contribution? If nothing, then not the a-hole. Was there any other reason other than flying it didn't work out? If not, you're the a-hole for making him feel crappy because of a fear. OP says, he didn't pay for her flights or hotel, no. He didn't contribute much. She had savings whilst he didn't. So she used money from that account and all her annual leave from work was spent coming to see him. She'd fly on Fridays but arrive late, so my son could usually work the full day and didn't have to take time off. Being scared of flying is fine, but not making the effort for his girlfriend does make him lazy. Plenty of people who are afraid of flying find another way around it. Plus he's never even flown, so how does he know he's scared? The idea can be nerve-wracking, but I think he should at least try it once before saying he'll never go on holiday. And a deleted user says, info, this seems incredibly odd. Your son wasn't even willing to fly to see her when she said she'd only move if he visited her. Are you sure there's not some other reason he doesn't want to fly? It might just be me, but it seems quite strange for someone to turn down a holiday and seeing their girlfriend of 2 years just because. OP says, he said he's scared of flying because he's never flown before, doesn't even have a passport. But I told him he's got to get over that fear. Flying is very safe, etc. But nothing worked, and even though I linked him a lot of articles and videos and stuff, he just doesn't listen. So that's why he never flew. And like I said, my wife / his mum is very scared too, and I think was just provoking fear in him over it. Pennant says, logic when talking about anxiety, fear and anxiety are often not logical. Clearly, you can see flights normally don't crash. However, that doesn't change the intensity someone may feel over anxiety of it. He's not being lazy about it, it's just an intense fear in this situation. If he's willing to give up an important relationship, I'd imagine it is pretty intense, even if you realize it's illogical. I think the OP is an arsehole considering his wife has this fear and allowed this type of behavior to happen to affect his son and calls his son out for it. His son isn't lazy. He carried this irrational fear from his mother that OP seemed to just let happen, rather than creating an opportunity for his son to overcome the fear. Stars for my love says not the a-hole, but a sticky situation. Your son was in the wrong and he needed to hear it, but because he is your son, I can see why your wife would be mad at you for saying that. If you said it bluntly, it could sound cold and mean, but if you had a nice talk with your son and communicate better, it would work for telling him when he is being stupid. You could start off in a supporting manner, saying stuff like, there are other fish in the sea, yada yada, etc., and then tell him that he could have been a better boyfriend. OP says I wasn't entirely awful towards him. We did have a nice chat and I did help him feel better, but I also wanted him to know the truth because I want him to be in a happy relationship one day. So I want him to be a better boyfriend. Spectrum says everyone sucks here, like everybody. Your son for lack of effort, your wife for enabling him, the girlfriend assuming your assumption she was cheating is correct, and you for piling on. Your son already knew how you felt since you already told him. He messed up, he's hurting. Now is not the time for all I told you so. And one more comment from Pono who says, you're the a-hole. This sub. Sometimes, to quote the Big Lebowski, you aren't wrong, Walter, you're just an arsehole. Yes, he was lazy. Yes, she should have broken up with him. That said, no one wants their father, someone who should be their most ardent supporter, shaming them in their moment of vulnerability. Save it for when you're both reminiscing or reflecting. Give him time to reach that conclusion on his own and support him through his growth. Don't shove it down his throat so you can feel good because you are right. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What is your opinion on this situation? Let us know down in the comments below if you have a moment of your time to share them. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there for you to click on. So whatever you're up to right now, you're doing a bit of art maybe, bit of running, bit of walking, maybe you're just lying there doing jack shit. And fair play to ya. Don't forget to let me know what you're up to if you want to over on Twitter @MarkNarrations, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care.